Hey everybody, Sean here with Some Dude in Texas. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about a classic 80s hard rock album from 1985. That's right, we're going to be talking some Ratt and Roll, so stay tuned. So I was going back and forth this week. I wasn't quite sure what album I wanted to talk about. I was thinking Ratt, but I wasn't quite sure. And then an ad popped up on my Instagram for a box set that BMG and Rhino is going to be putting out for Ratt called the Atlantic Years. So it has the 5 classic albums that they put out during that era, but it also has like a single from the movie Point Blank called, Nobody Rides for Free. I thought it was pretty cool, so I was like, man, there we go. I'll be talking Ratt. However, this box set is pretty cool, but man, it is pricey. Man, it comes in at about $200. So I'm hoping that BMG or Rhino will kind of release these albums individually, because I've got them all except Detonator. I need that one, and I'm not going to pay $200 for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. That's right, we're going back to 1985. We're going to be talking about Ratt's classic album, Invasion of Your Privacy. Once again, when I first started, collecting records again, this was one that was high up on my list, and I was lucky enough to find a real clean copy. Still has the plastic on it. It's got the hype sticker right there. Picture of the guys. And then it still has the original sleeve. But one other thing that it had that was pretty cool, and us old guys will remember this, but it had an order form. This is actually for their videos. So you can send this in. I think it's for like $20 plus $3 for shipping and handling. But you can get their videos that they put out, up until that point from on MTV. But this shows you how old this is. You had 2 choices to choose from, VHS or Beta. Yeah, who remembers Beta? But this is pretty cool, man. It kind of brings back a lot of memories, because this is the way you had to do things back then. You didn't have internet. And a lot of times, record stores just kind of, they just sold records and tapes and, later on CDs. But you'd had to order through these mail-in forms, and man, it would take like 6 to 10 weeks, man. You'd be sitting there just chomping at the bit waiting for this stuff to get there. But good old days. But anyway, this album, this is my favorite Ratt album. Every song on here is good. There's not one that you fast forward through. And, Ratt's just one of those bands, they're a labeled hair band. Of course, they've got that look. But to me, their rhythms and, their riffs were always just heavy, right? Their backup vocals were high and kind of that poppy sound. But, man, they always just had real heavy guitar riffs. Robin Crosby, man, he was just a beast at laying out those rhythms. Of course, Warren D. Martini became, kind of the guitar god with his leads and everything. But, man, you can't look over Robin Crosby, his input to these albums and his just, creativity, man. He had just killer riffs. But anyway, I'd say, my favorite songs on this album be the first 3, actually. Be You're in Love, Never Use Love, and Lay It Down. But even kind of, they never really did ballads, right? But this one was kind of close, but closer to my heart. Kind of a ballad, but it was still kind of heavy. That's a pretty good one, too. And then the B-sides were all great as well. So Ratt was just one of those bands, man, that was just, you knew, from the first note or the first line, of vocals, you knew who it was. Stephen Pearcy had that distinctive voice. Warren and Robin had just that, real unique, you knew right away from that guitar tone it was them. And I always thought they were kind of, they did, rise to fame, man. They were kind of ruling things for a while, on the radio and on MTV. But I still think they were always kind of underrated, with them kind of being thrown on that hair band label. But they're just a great band. And one thing that always kind of stuck out, and, if you know anything about Ratt, Bo Hill was their producer. He pretty much produced those first 4 Atlantic records. And I think they got someone different on Detonator. But you always had those distinctive backup vocals, right? Kind of like Van Halen with Michael Anthony, those real high-pitched backup vocals. Well, Ratt had the same thing. Ron Crozier, was always kind of given that title of, having that cool backup vocals. But I think Bo Hill had a little bit to do with that as well. I was listening to an Alice Cooper record, Constrictor, and I was hearing those backup vocals. I was like, wait a second, this sounds real familiar. And I went and looked, of course, Bo Hill produced that album. And then they also credit him as backup vocals. So maybe it was a little bit more Bo than it was Juan. But anyway, I kind of found that interesting. But, once again, this is just, my favorite album. I think this is a classic. If you like Ratt, or even if you like, that 80s metal, man, you can't go wrong with listening to this one. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to check it out. Or if you have heard it before, man, go back and spin it again, man. It's worth it. It's a great album. That's Ratt's Invasion for Your Privacy. All right, well, that wraps it up for this episode. I appreciate y'all watching. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Be sure to leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. And once again, thanks for watching. And until next time, y'all take care.
Y'all come back now. You hear?